Hey guys, Chris the Ultimate Recycler. Welcome back to the channel. We have an important repair job to do now, and this has just come onto the list. And what makes it jump above or jump queue on thousands of other repair jobs I've got to do here is that Christine asked me to do it, and it concerns me being fed. So very important, of course. I took some video footage just last night after we had a wonderful meal, and I think tonight there's going to be a roast. So I've got a small window of opportunity. I'll show you what's going on. So we've just finished a delightful meal, many thanks to Christine, and the oven is in its cooling down phase. And I think you could probably hear the squeaking. I think it comes from underneath. I'll put the microphone closer. So you should be able to hear that. It sounds like a very sick bird. It's been whining for hours and hours and hours. So it's obviously a lubrication issue. I'll pull the stove cover off the bottom and see if I can access the fan, and we'll get some lubrication onto it. Okay, I just revised that footage, and you clearly didn't need the microphone closer because it was a very loud squeak, as you now know. And I've revised my description. I don't think it's a sick bird. I think it's probably a cricket that's almost worn its legs out from chirping. So let's go and have a look, work out what tools we need, and we'll tackle the job and see if we can quieten down that worn out cricket. Okay, our sound quality is not going to be that good in here because it echoes a bit. We have to slide the whole oven out. I think it's only a matter of a few screws to do that. We recently had an induction cooktop put in here, and the guy that did that, I think, had to slide the oven out. So I think it's only got the two top screws. It's got provision for bottom ones, but looks like they were never put in. Oh, there we go. That's easy. Now I'm guessing I'm going to have to unplug it. Hopefully it's not too heavy. I know we've got handles on the side. That's good. And our cord's plenty long enough. Beauty. Needs a bit of a clean out in here while we've got it out. So I think the fan's in the bottom of the oven, so I've got an old blanket here to lay the oven onto. We don't want to mark our floorboards. We've unplugged the power. Okay, it looks like the back panel will come off easily. And hopefully we can access the fan from there. Oh, that is easy. Now there's a motor. I'm presuming that's our fan motor. Okay, there's a motor there, but I don't think that's the fan motor. I think the fan's up the top. Looks pretty grotty in here, but that certainly looks like one of those birdcage type fans. And it feels a bit stiff to move, so we'll have to try and lube that somehow. I'll see if I can get it out, give it a bit of a clean up. Well, I must say this was easy to get into. I just removed the top panel, just a few self-tappers, and I can now, I think I'll take this whole assembly off. There's two screws that side, two at the other side. It unplugs, and I can take it out to the workshop, give it a clean up, and try and get some lubrication into the areas that is making it squeak. I can't hear it squeak when I do it manually, but I'm sure that's where the noise is coming from. So I'll take that off now and go and clean it up. Okay, upon further inspection, I think it's another fan. The other motor, let's see if we can get down a vision in here. I just removed a screen at the back of the oven, and you can see the other motor drives the fan in the back. And Christine's thinking that's the one that's making the noise. And because I could hear it down below the oven, I reckon that probably is the one. And to get that out, I'm going to have to take the racks off each side. There's a bottom tray, and then the panel at the back unscrews. So it's a bit more involved to get to, but I reckon that's the one that's causing the squeaking. Okay, that's got the last panel out. There's panels everywhere, and it's a bit messy in here. No matter how often you clean your oven, you never get behind all the panels unless you totally dismantle it. Now, I can see the fan. Oh, it doesn't seem to make any squeaks at all. That sounds perfectly fine. But I guess we should try and get some lube in it somehow while it's apart. Oh, geez. Remind me again why I'm fixing this. Ah, yeah. Food. That's it. Well, now we can take the motor off the back and we'll take both fans out to the shed. Okay, out in the shed now. I'm still not totally sure which one makes the noise. This one actually feels really good and it's much cleaner. But that was more where the sound was coming from. This one is obviously quite grubby. It's got a sort of a liberal coating of oil over it, cooking oil and stuff. It spins quite freely, but it seems to have a bit of restriction to spinning, so maybe it's just bound up a bit. Maybe they squeak when the motors are actually under load and not when they're free spinning. Maybe this fan that I took out was actually rubbing, causing the squeak. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in the bushes. They're only bronze type bushes through here. I'm assuming they're a bronze bush. I'm not going to take them apart. I can get a bit of oil in both ends. This one, we have some sort of bush at the end of the squirrel cage fan, and we have a bush this end. It looks like that actually might sort of slot out. So I'll try and get some oil into that. I'm just using some good quality oil. I've got an oil can here. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of a product called Bitron. I used to use a lot of it back in the 90s, and I think it's still going. It's called something different nowadays. It's probably a different formula, but I found an excellent long-lasting oil. I can't speak highly enough of it. It was actually sold through a network marketing company, but don't let that hold anything against it, because as a mechanic, I found it a great product. So I'll try and get a little bit of that into these, and then we'll just make sure that the fans aren't hitting on anything or rubbing when they goes back together. And hopefully we can get it back together in about 20 minutes, because I believe there's roast pork tonight. Back from the shed now, and both of these motors seem to spin beautifully and freely now. This one wasn't so bad, but this one has freed up considerably, so I reckon that's going to perform much, much better. Whether we got rid of our squeak, I'm not sure, but we are up to the reassembly stage. That's a handy little stubby screwdriver, in that they put a hole in the end of the handle, and in awkward spots when you most likely need a stubby screwdriver, it gives you a bit more torque. So that works really well. Now we better plug our wires back in. I did take a photo of how the wires went. Even though with electric motors, with 240 volt motors, it doesn't really matter which way they go. Always best to put them on the way they come off, because you just never know if there's other parts connected that do have a polarity importance. And yes, you can have polarity issues with AC, even though it's an alternating current, because one side is live and one is neutral, and neutral is actually tied back to the earth. So you don't want to put the live wire where the neutral should go, because it won't be switched properly. Okay, that's back on there. That one is intact and it's not rubbing. Let's put the other motor back in. I always like to finish tightening self-tapping screws, particularly with a hand screwdriver rather than the drill, so that it doesn't actually strip, especially when it's only going through a sheet steel. You don't want to strip the hole out, so you have a lot more control with a hand screwdriver. Okay, we better put the fan back inside and make sure that spins freely. Okay, we have to line up a flat side on the fan onto the shaft, and we'll put this nut back on. And this is very awkward. I'm too old for these jobs, I'm sure. I'll just keep thinking of roast pork, yeah? That's nice and tight. Left-hand thread too, I may have forgotten to mention. That spins nicely with no squeaky sounds at all. We better put all the panels back in, and hopefully it wasn't rubbing on the panels. I have the oven all back together now. It went together well, as in most jobs. The dismantling and the reassembling is the hardest part. There are screw holes where there's no screws, and I don't have any left over. And I'm wondering if the squeaking could have even come from any number of spots where the pressed tin metalwork is rubbing or vibrating. So look, I don't really know. I'm hoping I fixed it. The screen at the back of the oven here, if we can get some vision in here, went together well. But again, that little mesh screen over the grill at the back was a little loose on the clips, so maybe that was just oscillating, giving us a sort of sick cricket sound. But I'd like to think that it was the bushes in the motors and that I fixed it, but really we may never know. The important thing is though, hopefully we can have roast pork tonight and it won't carry on for an hour afterwards. I'll report back to you soon. Okay guys, it's the next day and Coco's looking for some scraps from the roast pork. All went beautifully. There's tonight's tea is a bit of a reheat of some roast. I reckon roast the next day is almost better than the first day. The oven has been on today for something and it's whisper quiet. So we've had success. Job's done. We're all happy. We're well fed. Thanks Christine for another great meal.
You're welcome.
She's over there. And you're in it again. Thanks for watching guys. An unplanned but successful repair. This one, as I said, jumped the queue because it was important. I can get back onto my other jobs now. Catch you next time. Bye for now.